Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Rez Podcast, the show where we explore ideas, habits, and conversations that help us grow, think differently, and live more intentionally. Today's guest is Dr. Joshua Pritikin. I'm sorry I butchered your name, Dr. Joshua. An internal
It's okay.
family systems certified practitioner, psychological counselor, and the author of Religion Unburdened by Belief. Joshua works with both individuals and couples, and his work brings together psychology, emotional intelligence, spirituality, relationships, and personal development. Today, we're going to learn more about what inspired his book, the role psychology plays in it, how internal family systems helps us understand ourselves, and how these ideas can improve the way we connect with our partners. Joshua, welcome to the Rez Podcast. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
My pleasure. It's an honor. Joshua, what inspired the book? Let's begin with your book, Religion Unburdened by Belief. What inspired you to write it, and what is the main idea you hope readers take away from it?
Sure. So it was inspired by a book that I encountered a couple years back, written by James Carse with a similar title. His book was called "The Religious Case Against Belief," and um, like that's where I got the idea that belief and religion might be separatable, and I felt like his analysis was very persuasive, and I very much enjoyed his book. But then about halfway through, I felt like he dropped the ball and didn't really fully develop the idea. So that's what I set out to do in my book, and one of the goals for my book is to uh, basically show how or identify a way to measure personal development that doesn't rely on self-report, because self-report is not a great measure. It's vulnerable to self-deception.
Mm,
So yeah, that
mm,
was
mhm.
one of the goals.
I see. Thank you for sharing that. Um, I just, how much of the book is connected to psychology? Like, are you mainly examining religion and spirituality, or is the book also about understanding the human mind, our emotions, and the way we develop?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. So there's actually kind of an overlap between psychology and religion. And, think of the what psychologists call schizophrenia. Like, what is that from a religious perspective? Well, it might be people accessing the spirit world, or um, in from a religious perspective, what is ego dissolution from a psychological perspective? Might be considered psychosis.
I
So
love this.
these,
Wait, can I interrupt you for a second?
yeah,
Okay,
please.
okay. So wait, you mentioned two terms. What was the first one? You not before the schizophrenia
Uh,
one. Yep.
um,
Yes.
ego dissolution.
Ego dissolution. What does that mean?
Well, um, okay. So as individuals, mm, like everyone who's an individual has this sense that there's something that's me and something that's not me. So there's like a boundary between me and not me. And when mm, people have a like a real like a extreme experience of ego dissolution, this boundary dissolves so that you um, there's no longer this boundary between me and others, but what people report is that they feel connected to something larger than themselves, like a presence that um, seems like a universal presence, something like that. And probably the most reliable way to cause this experience to happen is to use this drug called 5-MeO-DMT, which there was some news about that recently. I think some pharmaceutical company acquired. There's some drug, some yeah. If you just look in the news, so 5-MeO-DMT is there, and um, from what I've read, like of the research, there's better. It's like more than half the time people that use 5-MeO-DMT report this experience.
And what did you say about schizophrenia and religion? Because this is something that, like, I like. This is interesting for me because I always say these prophets, they might have been schizophrenic or bipolar. Because am I crazy to think that way? Or
No, I think that tracks. Like, but um, so the issue is these terms are considered dysfunction or pathology from a psychological point of view or psychiatric point of view from a like the Diagnostic
Mhm.
and Statistical Manual. That's how it looks at things. And
DSM.
um, yeah, and like religion also, like in the past, religion also saw these or could see symptoms as pathologies, but I think we're kind of moving to a different place in our understanding of these constellations of symptoms that just sees them kind of as presentations of symptoms, not necessarily pathology. And so um, like in a religious context, schizophrenia can look like access to the spirit world, something like that. And it's really not clear what's actually happening, or even what it means. Like how do you even understand the reality of people that report these
Mhm.
kinds of experiences? It's not
I
super
know,
clear
right?
how to
So
interpret it.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, imagine in today's world, I woke up and I told you I received a revelation from God, right? They
Hmm.
would diagnose me as bipolar for sure.
They could. Someone could, yes.
Yeah, like you know what I
Depends who you
mean.
talk
So
to, I guess.
it depends who you talk. Um, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Let's talk. Let's dive right into the internal family systems. So you're an internal family systems practitioner. For someone who's never heard of that before, what exactly is internal family systems, and what does it mean to say that we have different parts within ourselves?
Okay. Um, so before I answer your question, I just want to finish up from the previous question. And so I wrote this book. It includes psychology because there's overlap between religion and psychology. But the other reason it includes psychology is because internal family systems was designed to help people who are very very vulnerable, who um, are really struggling. And so one of my goals for this book was to meet people where they're at. And so that's the other reason that I start with psychology, so that people feel like cared for, like no matter where you're coming from, like this book can serve you. So let me move to introducing internal family systems. This is a talk therapy modality that was developed by Dr. Richard Schwartz some decades ago. He was trained as a family therapist, and what he was noticing working with his individual clients who had eating disorders is that they would describe their inner experience in a way that was very similar to what he was doing when he was working with families. So, um, probably the easiest way to explain parts or like these subpersonalities that internal family systems talks about is to consider a situation where you have mixed feelings. So suppose you're driving to work late, like it's a situation everyone can relate to. So part of
Yep.
you maybe wants to get to work on time. Another part is worried about being pulled over by the police. Another part is maybe frustrated with yourself for not leaving enough time to get to work.
Yep.
So internal family systems is like a systematic way of unpacking these mixed feelings and um, helping these parts of ourselves to um, kind of develop a more trusting relationship with each other, and with ourselves, leading towards greater inner harmony.
Damn, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. I fucking love that. So can you elaborate a little bit more? Are you telling me that I should embrace like the parts of me that is sort of feeling stressed in the morning when I'm arriving late to work? Like, what do you mean by inner harmony? Like, how do I harmonize, if that's a word, those two parts of myself from a micro level?
Okay, well, if we just extend that scenario that I posited, like probably the way you could put yourself in that situation is like one part of you wants to get to work on time. Maybe another part feels like there's not enough time in the morning to get done what you wanted to get done. So, so that, so, the, so these two parts are kind of pulling in opposite directions. And when I encounter that as a facilitator, I'm like, okay, this sounds like a polarity. That's a technical term for it that we use, where it's kind of like we're calling opposites, like north is the opposite of south. So so the like these parts are pulling in opposite directions, and so the idea would be to address that is you would facilitate an internal discussion. You would ask the person to um, there's I'll just leave it at that. Like it would facilitate an internal discussion to try to get to know in more detail what's motivating these parts, like why it's so important, what needs do they have, like where do these needs come from, what's their history, those kinds of questions.
Is that kind of like journaling, or like when you are you familiar with CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy?
Yeah. So
Is it similar at all,
it's
or am I off the track here?
no, it is. I mean, it's similar in the sense that they're both talk therapy,
Okay.
but um, so um, how would I distinguish the difference? Well, okay, so hmm, maybe I could introduce some terms from internal family systems. The concept of blending and unblending are really key. So before I answer, maybe I could just put that question aside for
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
and talk about blending and unblending. So these are really the key ideas in IFS. So let me just give an example. Suppose I have a part of myself that is very anxious about doing interviews, and if I became blended with this part, then like it tends to freeze up. Like I lose track of what I'm saying. My mind goes blank, and then I just like become overwhelmed by anxiety. Um, so, but since I've worked with this part and it trusts me, like it doesn't feel the need to do that right now. And so I can still feel that anxiety, but I'm staying unblended from it, which, so the difference is that when this part is blended, then it controls my actions. I feel like taken over by this part. I'm fully express like however it's feeling, and and follow the behaviors it recommends. When it's unblended, then I still feel that anxiety, but my behavior, I'm fully in control of my behavior. Like other parts can suggest how I should behave, and I have more choices. I can decide how I behave. Does that make sense?
Yes. A little
Okay.
bit. Yes. I got to read the book for sure. Like it's a lot. It's a lot. I gotta. It's a lot of stuff. I mean, it's pretty. But I love it. I'm I studied science, all that stuff, and this is very much complicated. But yeah, um, I want to talk to you because we have limited time. I want to talk to you about emotional intelligence. So internal family systems and emotional intelligence. How does internal family systems think about emotional intelligence? Does becoming emotionally intelligent mean controlling our emotions, or is it more about understanding, listening to, and working with the different parts of ourselves?
Okay, so um, in my mind, emotional intelligence is just another way of describing this process of developing the relationships with your parts, like this inner harmony. So developing the trust that so that your parts don't feel like they need to blend and control your behavior. Because that to me, like that's kind of like the opposite of emotional intelligence. When parts, like suppose you're angry, if you if that part doesn't trust you and you end up blending with it, then you might be cursing people and throwing things and that kind of behavior tends to not obtain great results. Like it's
Hmm.
for angry parts, like it's very important to understand them and also speak for them instead of as them. Like you don't want to speak as angry, but you want to speak like what you're angry about. So that requires to stay unblended from the part and still communicate its concerns without um, without it taking over.
Because it's inauthentic if you don't accept those, if you don't blend them, then you become fake. Am I right? Like, if that makes sense? Like,
Well,
like
like
you're
being
putting
fake.
on, like you're
If
putting on a
you're
show.
putting
Like,
on a if you're putting on a show or putting on a mask, like that sounds like
yeah.
you're that's like another part that you're using to uh, protect yourself from being vulnerable. Perhaps
Yep.
that's what it sounds like.
100%. So Dr. Pritikin, since this podcast is really about dating, relationships mainly. Um,
Yeah.
of course, we do other topics as well, but you work with couples, correct?
Hmm.
So, how do you use internal family systems when helping two people understanding their conflicts and communicate more effectively? And from that relationship perspective, what does your book offer to couples or individuals who want to build healthier connections?
Okay. Um, well, let me just start with the first part of that question. That's a
Sure.
lot.
Yeah, I know it's a lot.
Um, okay. Um, So when I'm working with couples, what I'm trying to do is facilitate a conversation where both partners are able to speak to each other and listen while they're unblended. So if I notice that, I'm always trying to ascertain whether someone is becoming blended with their parts, or they might feel criticized or defensive. And the way you can help those parts unblend is basically just to reflect those parts' experience. Like, oh, I it it this it sounds like this part really feels criticized right now, and is wants to say some things in its defense. It's just to validate, to acknowledge that that's what's going on, and um, what tends to happen if you validate and reflect what the parts experiences is they feel heard, they feel listened to, and they're able to unblend a little bit and make some space for the conversation. So that's what I'm trying to do when I'm working with couples is I'm facilitating a conversation, but I'm trying to slow it down. So every time I notice that it sounds like a one of the partners like is being taken over by a part, then I ask that person to slow down, to let that part know that we're listening, and to speak for that part's experience instead of like as that part's experience. And the same thing for the listener. Like often being a listener is very triggering. So it's always helpful to ask people like, are you ready to hear from your partner? Like, do you have any concerns or anxiety about hearing from your partner on this topic? And to get all those concerns on the table before asking them to listen.
Okay. In terms of any tangible micro tips that you just mentioned all of them actually, but um what would you say as we're wrapping this up, like what would you say is like for the most part, when it comes to healthy relationships, um any advice for people that want, we all get into fights and stuff like that, and so
Hmm.
um like ultimately what is it that we can do to be the bigger person?
Hmm. Um, that's a great question. So in terms of tips, like mm, like uh, if you ask the same question, many couples, many counselors that work with couples will say, "Oh, you should use this specific phrasing or nonviolent communication," or they'll give you um, like particular phrases that are supposed to be safe to say, and my take is that it's not so much the specific language you use, but more about um, whether you're blended or unblended. Like that's in my mind, that's the key dynamic that I'm being attentive to, and that's where my book could potentially help couples to communicate, because the whole book is kind of orbits around this idea of understanding um, blending and unblending, and then helping people understand how to develop more trust among in their inner system, so they're able to stay unblended more of the time. And so to give like more specifics about how the book helps with this is that I propose a kind of like practices that present a progressive challenge. So the kind of the least challenging uh, circumstance is um, when you're with a talk therapist, and then when you become blended with your parts, then the therapist can uh, help validate and reflect back how you're feeling, and then that can help you feel understood and help you unblend. And then, but many people uh, many people need that kind of support, but many people are ready for something more challenging. And for that, I recommend learning a practice of meditation. And I have a particular way of thinking about meditation that it incorporates this IFS perspective. And then once you develop a like a fluidity, like an effortlessness in your meditation, um, then then the next practice would be to look at psychedelics, which is more challenging.
I knew I was forgetting a topic. So let's look at psychedelics. Are you talking about what's sort of the street name shrooms, or talk to me about psychedelics? Are we talking about THC? Like what? Yeah. The,
Okay. Um, actually, name two different psychedelics in the book, because there's a particular uh, cannabis blend that is THC and then equal amounts of CBD and CBN. That this particular blend, I feel, is particularly great for beginners because it doesn't cause the munchies. It and it the come down is like super smooth. Like it's you feel like the relaxation of cannabis during the journey, and then that just fades to normal. Like there's no difficulty with the come down. So I think it's a particularly great recipe for beginners just to experiment.
and sorry, you
But
said it's a combination of THC and
THC and then equal amounts of CBD and CBN.
CBN. I've never heard of CBN.
Okay. Um,
Is that something that I can find in the Canadian dispensaries?
Um, yeah, I think it would be available. Like certainly you could get like the CBN isolate and then mix that with THC and CBD because the the cannabis, most of the market is focused on THC and CBD. That's kind of like the standard blend. And then if you add an equal amount of CBN, then that creates this um, effect that because the experimentation, the, like my own experimentation has found that it's really the
Hmm.
and we don't have time to get into it, but
Yeah, no worries.
so anyway, I have some charts in the book about this.
I see. I see. No, and by the way, where can we find your book? Amazon, or is it on Amazon Prime, or like where can people listening
It
find your book?
it is on Amazon, but I would urge people to look at the book promo website, which is at unburdened.biz, biz. And even if you're not sure if you're interested in the book, I would encourage you to visit the website because there's an amazing promo video that came out really well. It shows a ceremony taking place in the middle of the ocean on a shallow sandbank,
Oh,
which is kind of like a dramatic. It came out really spectacular. So I would encourage all your listeners to look at that. And this actually helps me answer the second part of your question. So you're asking about psychedelics. So I recommend this cannabis blend, but the case study that I really focus on in chapter 7 is about the Santo Daime religion and how the practice, the way they conduct ceremonies, they're using psychedelics. They're using ayahuasca, or they call it daime, but it's the same thing. But they're using it in a way that's very different from, like with a different intention. They're bringing a different intention to it that fits very well with this idea of parts work of IFS, where there's this tension between becoming blended with a part and staying unblended.
me and my partner, I'm gonna just throw these terms at her tonight. I'm gonna be like, baby, you're not quite unblended enough for me. I'm learning some stuff. Just final question before we wrap up: is psychedelics good for people with mental health diagnoses such as bipolar disorder or schizophrenia?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's still like an open research question. It's not settled yet. They're cautiously doing this kind of research, exploring. My intuition is that for uh, for conditions where there's like excessive rigidity, like where you find yourself stuck in habits, then psychedelics can open things up because they create like this controlled chaos in your head. Like that's one way to look at it is just like from a big picture point of view, like there's that it creates this chaos, and so for people that are like already have a kind of like a chaotic mind, like some people with schizophrenia uh, will describe their internal experience as being a bit chaotic. In that case, I would approach psychedelics very cautiously.
Got it. Dr. Pritikins, I think we're gonna have to wrap up.
Okay.
We know where the listeners can find you. What is your website?
Well, so my websites are all connected. So just go to the book's website, unburdened.biz, and on the author page, you can find out how to contact me directly if you want to work with me one-on-one, or just email me, or um, or visit my counseling website. It's kind of like they're all linked together. So
Got it. Thank you so
yeah,
much, Dr. Pritikins. It was a pleasure.
thank you for having me.
All right, I'm gonna hit stop. Whoops.